Dámy a pánové, ladies and gentlemen, this is the second part of the video on prepositions od and do. If you missed the first part, I highly recommend to watch it here. And if you're ready to see more, follow me. Jdeme na to. Let's start by an interesting phenomenon that happens in the Czech language, and that is the vocalization of certain prepositions. Even with od. It's not very common, but you can come across ode. And that happens naturally again because we want to make a better connection with the following word. Here, however, is not that clear as with k, ke, v, v, z, z, because with those a certain rule applies, which I mentioned before. There are certain rules and certain exceptions, so the best way is just to learn a couple of these examples. There are not many examples where we would use ode, but the words are very common, so it's not that unusual to come across this form. For example, ode dneška, which means from today, starting today, since today, starting today. Ode dneška. The word starts with D and also has another consonant after that, so ode dneška sounds much better than od dneška. Or ode dna. Dno is the bottom, so from the bottom. For example, odrazit se ode dna. To bounce from the bottom. It could be literally when you're swimming or when somebody really gets to the bottom and then they finally start getting better. So odrazí se ode dna. They bounce from the bottom. Ode dveří, from the door. But here it's also common to say od dveří. Depends on the speaker. Or I also came across ode zdi ke zdi, and this is quite common. From wall to wall. Ode zdi ke zdi. Somebody was pacing from wall to wall. Chodil ode zdi ke zdi, or we were throwing the ball and it was bouncing from wall to wall. Míč se odrážel ode zdi. And you can see the pronunciation is easier because we have two consonants, d as well. Or a very, very common one is ode mě, from me. There I've never heard od mě. So this is the only possible way, ode mě, from me. Just like in the phrase to ode mě nebylo hezké. That was not kind of me. Or tenhle dárek je ode mě. This present is from me. Or even a phrase that I didn't mention before, but it's also common. Zavolej si ode mě. Call from my place or from my phone. So from me. The same way could be od tebe. Can I call from your phone? Můžu si od tebe zavolat? So you have a certain pattern. We have words starting with D or two consonants. But here is where it wouldn't happen. If somebody is called Denisa, we say od Denise, and we have no problem saying od Denise, and we would not say ode Denise actually. That doesn't sound right. Or od Tomáše. Also, we say od Tomáše. No problem with that. Also, you might have noticed that the preposition od is pronounced as ot. Here it would be affected slightly because of the following letter. Od Denisi. So here actually it would sound like d, od Denisi. And od Tomáše would be pronounced as two T's. Od Tomáše. But here, as we added E, we would pronounce it as D. Ode mě, ode zdi. Also remember that od and do are common prefixes in the Czech language. That means they are part of a verb and they change that verb's meaning slightly or sometimes quite a lot. I am not going to speak too much about this, but I want you to be aware because sometimes the meaning does reflect the preposition's meaning. For example, here, oddělat, which comes from the verb dělat, to make or do, and oddělat is to remove something. You make a movement from. Oddělat. Or odrazit se, which I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago. Odrazit se ode dna, to bounce off the bottom. So we have odrazit. And do as well. Dodělat. So do means to and also means to finish. So dodělat means to finish doing, to complete something. Dodělám video. I will finish making the video. Or dojíst, to finish eating. Dojíst. Až dojím, dodělám to. When I finish eating, I'll finish the work. At the end of this video, I would like to have a look at some verbs that are commonly used with od and do, and also idiomatic expressions. Pozdravovat od. Pozdravovat od někoho. To say hello from somebody. For example, I can say, pozdravuj ode mě mamku. Say hello from me to your mom. Pozdravuj od nás rodiče. Say hello to your parents from us. To někoho would be replaced by that person that's saying hello. And that would be the genitive case. And then of course you would also say who. As I mentioned, zavolat si od někoho, to call from somebody's phone or house. Zavolám si od tebe. I'll call from you. I'll use your phone. Zavolej si ode mě. I'll call from my phone. It's okay. Chtít od někoho něco. To want something from somebody. Here it comes natural, just like in English. Or čekat od někoho něco. To expect something from somebody. To jsem od tebe teda nečekal. I really didn't expect this from you. Ty ode mě pořád něco chceš. You always want something from me. Then we can say jít od někoho. Just like I mentioned, jdu od doktora. I was visiting the doctor and now I'm walking from their office. Or I could be visiting a friend. Jdu od Denisy. I'm going from Denisa's house. But also I could say jdi ode mě or jdi ode mě pryč. This explicitly means go away from me. Jdi ode mě pryč. Also, we could say běž. Okay, these two are interchangeable when it comes to this imperative form. Jdi ode mě. Běž ode mě. Šu, šu. And then we can add pryč, which means away, but it's not necessary. You just say jdi ode mě. Go from me. Leave. By the way, I just mentioned the expression šu, šu. In Czech, that would be translated as kuš. Funny one, but we can also use it. Kuš, kuš, kuš. Kuš, jdi ode mě. Skákat do řeči. This means to interrupt somebody when they are speaking. So usually here we would say skákat někomu do řeči, and we would put who we are interrupting. Skákat ti do řeči. Skáčeš mi do řeči. And this is a fun expression because it literally means jump into the speech. You know, you keep jumping into somebody's speech. Řeč is speech. Pořád mi skáčeš do řeči. You keep interrupting me. Nebudu ti skákat do řeči. I will not interrupt you. Od 10 k 5. Here we actually have the preposition from previous lesson. K. Od 10 k 5 means from bad to worse. And you can probably translate this yourself. Literally, this means from 10 to 5. So it is going down from the number 10 to 5. A šlo to s ním od 10 k 5. And he went from bad to worse. Another expression meaning that something was not really improved, z bláta do louže. In English, this can be translated as out of the frying pan into the fire. I've never heard this, so you can tell me if this is really used in English. But in Czech, we do use this expression, z bláta do louže. We thought of a solution and it didn't help at all. Z bláta do louže literally means from mud to the puddle. They're both equally bad. And the last expression, od nevidím do nevidím. This is a very fun one. Something lasts for too long. Usually it's not a good thing. So you could say, pracuju od nevidím do nevidím. I work for such a long time. And the literal translation would be something like from not seeing until not seeing. You work so much in this case that you don't even know when you started and when you finished. You just work non-stop. So non-stop would be maybe the best translation. You could say, a je tam od nevidím do nevidím. He's there or she's there non-stop. Tak a to je ode mě všechno. This phrase also contains ode, by the way. Have you noticed? To je ode mě všechno. This is all from me. A těším se na komentáře od vás, od diváků. I'm looking forward to your comments from you viewers. Mějte se krásně. Ahoj!